Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DETAUX Designers Talk UX. So, Jimmy Smith once said, "We are all storytellers. There isn't a stronger connection between people than storytelling." Welcome to another episode of Crack. Today, we have Shahid with us, whose proficiency in narration helped him crack the interview at Accenture. Stay tuned to know how. Hello, Shahid. Welcome to DETAUX. How are you doing today?
Hello, hi. Thank you so much. I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, great. It's good to have you here, Shahid. And we got to know about that you wanted to share your story of how you got into Accenture and what was the process. And there are so many people who've been asking this question from us and been looking forward to this talk. And we have so many questions to ask. So, how has your experience been with Accenture?
Actually, tomorrow it marks me 1 year in Accenture. Actually, so it's today. Yeah,
Whoa!
tomorrow counts as the 1 year. So it's been great. Actually,
Congratulations.
thank you so much. I worked on numerous projects, in couple of projects in Accenture. So it's been a different experience, but got to learn every day. It's what's learning experience. First was in more of an virtual reality and AR kind of project,
Okay.
and now I'm working more on an UI UX.
But
Yeah.
how's your experience, recruitment experience at Accenture? Do you want to go in detail and talk about that?
So as an initial thing, I was a college hire. So in
Okay.
college hire, there's a time, right? From a point of your last semester, the company starts to come and you have to
Hmm.
prepare yourself to attend the interviews and make your portfolio and
Right.
present yourself. There is that phase.
Yeah.
So all
Exciting
the call
times.
exciting times, exactly. So college
Nostalgia as
prepares
well.
you. Sure, you understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So college prepares you in that sense. They ask you to prepare your portfolios, get ready for your
Hmm.
interviews. At times they also give you mock interviews so that you get adjusted to know how do you actually communicate your project to others. Basically,
Okay.
because it's just not making your project, it's also communicating your project well to the other person, right? So
Hmm.
that kind of training was given. It wasn't a very long process, it was just an one of telling us points, what all to look for, what all not to look for, what kind of companies. So once
Okay.
that journey started, our the company started to come, things like that. We used to get like mails daily saying that there'll be interviews of this company coming, XYZ
Okay.
company is coming. So as a student, you'll be like, oh, what should I apply for? Who should I apply? It's like a task. So there is
Right.
that anxiety also with you.
Right.
Once that is dialed down, you go for the first couple of interviews and you understand how interviews work. So Accenture was not my first company I interviewed on. First, I worked on
Oh.
interview for a startup actually, and they
Hmm.
were actually just starting out. They had one owner, and he was the old person, and
Okay.
he wanted a designer who does everything also. Like
Okay.
he wants to do graphics, he wants UI UX, he wants to do bit of product also, product of
Hmm.
marketing, things like that. So that is my first interview experience actually. So
Hmm.
since my first interview was itself on a very the the expectation was too high from me, right? I mean, so that actually set me up for the next few interviews also. So
Okay.
before Accenture coming up, I always had what kind of companies do I really want to work with? I had a
Hmm.
company list of like 30, 40 companies, right?
Hmm.
And Accenture was one of them. So they came up with an interview. Sorry, I made a list of companies what I worked for. Also, I wanted to know what really excited me. The one
Hmm.
choose why I choose Accenture was they always had that new age technologies like AR, VR, and also the UX.
Hmm.
They have a proper UX studio team, design studio
Hmm.
team. So that all actually made me feel like it's also working with a bigger company. The projects you
Hmm.
get will be massive projects, right? The
Hmm.
scale of projects of, and you get to understand, communicate with different people from different countries. So that was all a
Hmm.
factor of choosing Accenture.
Hmm.
So once I had shortlisted the companies, I wanted to understand who all are people are working in that company and how are their portfolios being done. So that was one part.
Hmm.
So I used to go to LinkedIn or any profiles where we could actually search for people's portfolio and see how their portfolio is made, what kind of projects they have done. So the
Okay.
step I went was so there are I believe in portfolio there are like two ways of getting into it. If you believe that
Hmm.
you want one industry to work with, it's better to go in deep. Like you can do multiple projects on the same industry. But I
Hmm.
didn't know that what industry I wanted to work for. I was much more broader kind of person. So I had a
Hmm.
glimpse of, I had a health project, I had a SaaS project, things like that. So I had multiple projects because I didn't know what I should be focusing on. I thought later on we
Hmm.
can fix on that. So that's all. So I also people also told me that it's better to have at least three projects, even though I had more than three. I could
Hmm.
never filter myself. Oh,
Get
this
to
is
that,
bad.
yeah.
That was a issue for me. So
Right.
yeah, that's how it happened. And the I think especially from college, the way they select students, the first initial round is a portfolio round. We send our
Hmm.
portfolios and they send back a list of people who are selected with that portfolio.
Hmm.
So portfolio for us was like a calling card,
Hmm.
saying that okay, this person knows this much, so we'll get him in the next round. So portfolio was always the ticket for the next round for me, basically.
Hmm.
So that's how the first round of Accenture was. That we sent our portfolios, they sent back a list of names and saying this these people are selected for the next round. So the next
Hmm.
round for us was, so this is a glimpse of my portfolio just to see. It's in Behance if you want to see in detail.
Hmm.
Basically in Accenture it was a like 4 round interview. If you don't without counting the portfolio round. So in the
Hmm.
first they had given us a 2 hours time period, 2 hours, and we had to create one design for. So that was a COVID time, like the peak COVID time. So we had, so the question was, there's a vaccine coming up, and now design
Hmm.
a this thing in which people can schedule their vaccine, schedule their
Hmm.
slots and things like that. So
Right,
they
right,
wanted
right.
to. So since it was 2 hours, it was kind of understood they don't want the full process length. Don't want to see every from research everything to your UI screens. It was much more
Hmm.
how fast you can think and are you able to like produce something in 2 hours. So
Hmm.
that was more of the task.
So did
So
they give you this on a whiteboard or did they give you like
it was
sheets?
so it was a mail kind of thing. So it
Oh,
was
okay.
it was like an online thing. You can start your assignment and within 2 hours you have to
So
submit
while the
assignment.
recruitment was going on, this they gave it to everyone for 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Go and do it and come back.
This was a yeah. Basically, this was one day before the next recruitment. So it was like
Okay,
day.
okay,
So one day it
okay.
was just uh, take your assignment and get it done. So I
Right.
feel that the important part was to get it done.
Hmm.
People who had like finished and was able to showcase some form of screens
Hmm.
was able to go to the next round. That's what I saw in that.
And that's also one thing, right? To get it done on time.
Yes.
I think that's also very important because, like the deadlines that you have in the industry, I think they were looking at that factor, right? People are
True.
able
Yeah.
to complete on time and be able to deliver. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, one point of then after this point, I didn't have to showcase my portfolio at all. So portfolio was just
Oh,
my
okay.
the first round thing. So once the
Hmm.
next day, I had a designer interview, and
Hmm.
we actually discussed my solution in the previous, the take home test. So that was the
Right.
main talking point of us. Even even though it wasn't perfect, even though she like pointed out there are mistakes and this is that, even I could find out,
Hmm.
oh, that is wrong. So even there are a bit of technical questioning in between. So they would ask, if you are create like what is portfolio? So not so what is not portfolio? What is empathy mapping, or what is
Hmm.
how do you do empathy mapping, things like that. They would ask in between the in that, what is customer journey or user journey, how do you do a user journey, what are the points you want to think when you do a user journey, things like that also is part of question. So
Hmm.
this round was just not so one thing I understood, that it was not just understanding the process of behind this, it was understanding me as a person and a designer. So how I would design things, or how would I actually, you know uh, how do I actually look to design things, or
Hmm.
how,
Your
because
approach, your
yeah, the
thought
approach,
process.
yeah, my thought process and
Awesome.
approach, that was their
Right.
main ideation idea behind questioning. So
Hmm.
this was also very interesting kind of interview. So I
Hmm.
don't. It was more of creativity test also, you can say. And
Right.
I had numerous interviews, but I never had this kind of an experience before. So
Hmm.
the interviewer gave me a list of words, And
Hmm.
she gave me like 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 minute. Then I had to like by heart the words and repeat it back. So,
Okay.
okay. So the idea was that I should not have repeated it back. I should have drawn it back. So that's what
Okay.
she tried to get into. So I think it was also testing my visual skills in that sense,
Okay.
or how do I actually understand words or understand subjects.
Hmm. Hmm,
So
hmm,
there
hmm,
was that
hmm.
interview. That also
Interesting.
went well. Yeah, it was very interesting interview as well. That, like, out of all the interviews I've done, this is the one that I can never forget. Because it was
Right.
never
Sometimes
expected.
yeah, sometimes the interviews can be so interesting, no, and that
Exactly.
you're excited to join a company.
Very true. So
That
till now, I have met the person who took my interview. Also, I've told her like, oh, I was really excited. Like, it was really different thing what you did. It was really nice. So once that
right.
was done, then I had a interview with my design head.
Hmm.
Uh, that was a very general kind of question. We didn't ponder much into my solutioning of portfolio. It was why would I choose design? What kind of stages do I like in design? Things like that. That was a very straightforward questions. Then I had an HR interview. That was also very straightforward, expectations and things like that.
Hmm.
So that's what Accenture's process was. So
Okay.
I think this all of the interviews took 1 day, and the take-home assignment was 1 day, so it was 2 days. And I think the
Okay.
third day we all came to know who all got selected.
Okay.
Then the onboarding process start. Then it was a long gap because this
Hmm.
all happened basically 8 months before joining. So we always,
Oh.
yeah. So we had a time to join. It's because we also had to
Okay.
finish our college. There is that
Hmm.
because
So
we
this
were in
was
the last
the
semester.
second last semester or the last semester?
Last semester.
Just entering the
Yeah.
last semester.
So it's actually before we started our internships. So
Oh, okay.
basically our second last semester, basically not last semester, because last
Hmm.
semester is our
Right.
internship, right? So
Right.
second last
Right.
semester, this was happening. So
Hmm.
from Accenture side, they would send us emails regularly saying that what's happening in the with the company and what all things. How they also send us some links saying that what all we could expect in Accenture and how the
Hmm.
working was. There was always that mails that kept us looking our mailbox. Oh, is there any
Ah,
mail about? Is there anything news about things?
interesting.
When are we joining? Then the
Okay.
process was towards the end. We had our process of sending our certificates. We had to get our
Hmm.
port we not portfolio, our CV once more. We had to send our CVs.
Hmm.
We had to send our mark sheets.
Hmm.
And also there are some, if we have worked before, we had to send our
Experience
uh,
certificates and all.
experience certificate, things like that. So
Hmm.
that also took 2 weeks because if there's an error, they would send us back and we would fix that.
Oh.
It is a
Hmm.
journey. It's all. After all, yeah, then I joined in August 20th with the Accenture. Then there was an onboarding process. It was general for everyone who have joined. And
Hmm.
the next week onwards, we also onboarded on our project.
So, in terms of your portfolio you mentioned, right? I mean, most of the
Mm.
companies they would usually want you to showcase your portfolio and walk them through the portfolio, which I didn't see over here. You mentioned that okay, you had shared your portfolio, but they didn't ask you to walk through that to a designer or a colleague, right?
No,
Which
no,
was
no.
also very
Accenture did not.
interesting here.
It did not.
Huh, did not ask you to do. So it was maybe it was self-explanatory. Why do you think they did not ask you to do that? Because I mean that would have also asked. I mean showed your thought process.
True.
Usually it doesn't happen like that. So why do you think that would have happened? Now that you are in the system, you would know.
Actually, I'm not clearly sure why they did not ask me. It could be because it may be like you can teach them later in that sense. If they
Hmm.
have the basic idea of design and they understand design,
Hmm.
we could always, mold them and teach them how to get the products out of it. So I think
Hmm.
that is one of the reason
Right,
there was.
right, right. Interesting. And I think a lot of companies have started to focus on the task a lot more
Mhm.
because, I mean, though a 2 hour task cannot judge you as a designer completely, though, but then it gets you a sense of idea of how do you approach the problem,
Yeah.
right? And then how would your thought process be? And of course, how can you deliver things on time, like we discussed earlier? Would you like to add something for the listeners and the viewers in the end?
Maybe just it's all storytelling. Like all part, if just portfolio or working in design is basically storytelling. What story you want to tell and how you want to tell it differs. So learn how to tell the stories properly and whose story and why you're telling the story. And that
Hmm.
matters most.
That matters. We are all stories in the end.
Exactly.
Awesome, awesome, Shahid. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much.
we'll see you again soon.
Sure.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye. So, guys, that was it for today. We hope you liked the crack story. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment section down below. If you like to see more videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Bye bye and take care.